Why is it that a governor wouldn't accept free help from regardless? I mean, whether it's National Guard or the military or anybody. And then we have a governor get up and say, oh, it's safe, we can handle it. He can't handle it. He's an incompetent guy.
That was President Trump today sounding off on his crime crackdown and calling out Democrat leaders running some of America's biggest blue cities. It comes as a federal judge blocks him from sending National Guard troops to stop the anti-ICE violence exploding in Portland. And now Chicago and Illinois fighting for the same outcome. They've sued the administration over its move to send troops into the Windy City, where this weekend all hell broke loose. Watch this. Federal authorities opened fire on a woman who was allegedly armed with a gun shortly after their vehicle rammed and blocked in by a group of cars. And in a separate incident, Chicago police accused of denying calls to help federal agents who were surrounded by an angry mob. Chicago PD denies that.
Were they told to stand down? Our officers were not told to stand down. Our officers were out there throughout the entire event. I would never tell our officers to stand down, because if our officers were in trouble and we needed help from other officers, I would expect those officers to step in and help us. And it's the same thing that we do on our side. When someone is in trouble, we're going to step in.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson are ramping up their resistance to ICE's presence in their state. Watch here.
Trump and the thuggery that his agents have brought has actively made us less safe.
The right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
Tonight, tensions rise across major U.S. cities as clashes between protesters and federal agents intensify. A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's attempt to deploy National Guard troops, but chaos continues to unfold in Portland and now in Chicago.
All right, well, to start here, Jesse, I think it seems increasingly difficult for Democrats to claim that there's nothing to see here when federal agents are literally getting attacked and you have it on camera.
So ICE has every right to enforce immigration law. It's the same immigration law that Congress wrote. If Democrats don't like the law, they can change it, or they can win an election, and they can put the ICE agents back on the bench where they were for 4 years. You cannot nullify federal immigration law through anti-ICE zones, violence. You can't do it. It's Confederate action, and the federal government has every right to deploy federal resources to protect federal action that's being obstructed. This is like basic stuff. And they're using really disgusting violence to protect a cheap supply of labor. When have Democrats done that before? Do they really want a rematch of the Civil War? They're doing really awful things, too. They're shooting lasers in eyes of people. They're spitting on them. They're threatening them. They're assaulting them. There's now $10,000 bounties the cartels have put on agents' head because they're getting doxxed, and they want to put a death warrant out on them. And the Democrats don't want them to have a right to privacy. They used to love right to privacy. And now they can't have a right to privacy when they wear a mask. I do want to talk about, because I'm the ombudsman for the legacy media, a lie that needs to be debunked about zip ties. You keep hearing Democrats, and I know Jessica will bring this up eventually, about ICE agents zip tying children. Well, I looked into it. And when you do a raid on an apartment complex with 37 illegal aliens, and a couple of them are Tren de Agua, and the guy's living in an apartment building with a 17-year-old girl, and they can't prove that they're related, it's law to escort the girl, detain her, and bring her to a either state facility or a guardianship so she can't be exploited anymore.
Federal agents have faced violent encounters, their vehicles blocked, their agents targeted, and in one incident, a woman armed with a gun was shot after ramming a federal vehicle. Local officials deny accusations of ordering police to stand down.
Tren de Aragua is notorious for sex trafficking. You can't just allow these people to live together. And for Democrats to say they care about the children all of a sudden, they lost 300,000 of them. They lost them to sex slavery, to sweatshops. They're living in squalor now, and they didn't care. They're just using it now as a talking point.
Jessica, were you going to bring up zip ties, or would you like to now?
I wasn't going to, but I'm always down to talk about zip-tied children. So Jesse didn't really debunk anything. He used an example of a 17-year-old girl, but the case that the Democrats were making about this was based on the eyewitness testimony of people who lived in that apartment complex, which ran at first on local ABC. So you should go watch that.
One woman. She said a minor was zip-tied.
Okay. And it's all fine. That's the thing.
What would
I
you
understand
like to
that
do when you find a young girl in the custody of a Tren de Aragua member? What would you do?
I'm glad you didn't pronounce it in your full accent, though, the second time that you did it. It makes you more serious of a human being. But I don't think that that woman was talking about your 17-year-old person who was being sex trafficked. And either way, we'll find out more of it as time goes on. But you would certainly not deny the fact that ICE didn't need to pull all of those American citizens out of their homes in order to get at the Tren de Aragua members that they were going for. You would also, I would hope, not deny the fact that the judge who ruled against the deployment to Oregon is not some lefty. She was a Bush-appointed U.S. attorney. She was on Ken Starr's team. And I love this. I just, love a good quote when she's talking about what's going on in Portland and how you can actually look at the footage and see that it's on one square block and it's not like the mess everyone portrays it to be, similar to what happened in L.A., that Trump's deployment was simply untethered to the facts.
The debate now goes beyond street clashes. Legal experts point to a deep constitutional divide, whether the federal government can intervene when states refuse federal assistance.
The Trump administration is getting pushed back left, right, and center. The American people are saying no to this, and the court system is saying no to this. You have judges who have been appointed by every president from Reagan up until Donald Trump and Joe Biden himself saying, you cannot do this.
No, you don't.
Chicago journalists are
suing.
Chicago journalists are suing DHS for having excessive force used against them. And I know you love a good poll. I'm going to lead the A block with it. CBS, Trump is now -10 on immigration. 58% oppose using the National Guard, 70% of independents, 61% oppose using active duty military in our American cities. They are trying to militarize the country. And he says, and Caroline Levitt echoed it today in the press briefing, well, he just wants to work together. He's not picking up the phone and calling J.B. Pritzker. He's saying, I'm coming to take your cities. And that's what he told all of the generals last week when he had them assembled.
What are the Democrats in that poll?
What? In that poll, that's not how an answer.
What's the Democrats' rating?
58% oppose using the National Guard. It's not
they're
about
like
Democrats.
20 points below what the Republicans are, but that's okay.
That's actually not true in this poll. It's 40% versus 32% approval, I think.
I want to get Kaylee in here because I was going to ask you one thing about J.B. Pritzker, but now I've changed my mind. Because on the legal front, it's just there's so many legal cross currents. I don't know. I feel like Kerry and Homeland. Like, where can I figure out where this is going? How do we get to some sort of resolution before somebody gets killed?
Yeah, so first you cite the district court judge. I would note that the highest authority we have currently is the Ninth Circuit, who reversed the district court judge in the LA case. So this very well could be reversed by the Ninth Circuit. I think it will be. When you look at the DOJ filing, I bring my primary sources when I'm on with Jessica, always. The 169-page DOJ filing requesting an emergency motion to reverse that judge. What you find in it is this. Their legal authority is 10 U.S.C. 12406. They say in 2 cases, Donald Trump can federalize the National Guard. 1 case, you're unable to implement the laws of the United States. You cited the laws of the United States. It's immigration law as passed by Congress. Unable to enforce that because ICE agents are being targeted.
As both sides dig in, the fight over ICE, immigration enforcement, and state authority grows even more volatile. With accusations of political warfare and threats against agents, the nation braces for what could become a defining moment in federal versus state power.
Number 2, you can federalize the Guard if there's a rebellion against the authority of the government. Well, ICE is government. There's a pretty clear rebellion against this authority. Go ask the Dallas ICE agents who were targeted with anti-ICE bullets. This is a rebellion against U.S. government sources. And also what's interesting, you only have to get 10 pages into this lawsuit. Here's what you find, just to add to Jesse's list here. There's someone who wielded a firearm at ICE in Portland. There's an individual, you mentioned the rocks, the sticks. Listen to this. Officers have been bitten kicked, shot with paintballs, threatened with a machete and a knife, and assaulted with potentially blinding lasers. The protesters literally lit a material on fire up against the courthouse, and other protesters threw accelerants on the fire. That's just one fire. There was another fire, too. That one was done with motor oil over the building of Portland ICE. Donald Trump is on strong legal footing. I can't speak to the one federal judge. I think they're going to get reversed. The Ninth Circuit sided with Trump once. I think they'll do it again. You can't be biting ICE officers and lighting their building on fire.
Okay, so Charlie, weekends are supposed to be like easy, right?
Right.
You go on Fox and Friends weekend, you think, oh, you're gonna have like fun, you're gonna jump around outside on some trampolines, do some bull riding. But no, like the weekends, it feels like this is when these protests are ratcheting up. And it feels like so much news is happening at the time. And as I understand it, I believe it was yesterday morning, Secretary Noem was on with you all saying that there have been threats against them for kidnapping, for ICE agents. And she says that the threats are escalating. Do you feel over time, as you've been covering all of these things happening as it gets since the summer, that it's getting worse before it can get better?
Oh, I think it's definitely getting worse. And the fact that we were actually talking to Secretary Noem before that interview where she just sort of casually mentioned that this was going on. And we're like, holy goodness, are you kidding me? And the idea that you actually, and they're investigating who's behind this and who's putting up the money for these bounties, but $2,000 for attacking or kidnapping an ICE agent, $10,000 for killing an ICE agent, this is shocking.
For now, America watches as federal and state leaders clash over control, and citizens bear the impact on the streets.